Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. Habibti fillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, forgives us and protects us and preserves us and rectifies our condition and affairs. Habibti fillah, a question was asked, or a comment was made in regards to Salafis' inactivity in refuting ideologies in other religions, such as the Hindus and Christians and the Jews, and that those groups have a big role in distorting the image of Salafiyah as well as Islam in general. So first and foremost, I want to say that some of these concepts are issues which you might even say are ma'lum min ad-din bi darura, which means that they are well known in the religion by necessity. Every general Muslim generally knows that, when they read ayat like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says fi kitabi al-kareem, or Allah tabarak wa ta'ala says fi kitabi al-mubin, لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة, that they know that they're referring to the Jews and the Christians. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they will be in the hellfire, خالدين فيها, forever residing in the hellfire, due to their beliefs and due to their some from amongst them, their plots and their deception, which is all throughout Surah Al-Baqarah and throughout the Quran. So these concepts are ma'lum min ad-din bi darura. They're really known in the religion by necessity. That's the first point I want to make. Secondly, one of the problems we have for a lot of us that we make this mistake is that we make a blanket statement about the Salafis. So, for example, they view sometimes a couple of scholars or a couple of individuals or a couple of personalities as the representatives of the Salafis. And then there are those individuals who claim that they are the representative of the Salafis. And we've known this, especially in the West. We've seen it a lot where we've had certain groups and certain organizations who say, we the Salafis of Birmingham, we the Salafis of Croydon, we the Salafis of England, we the Salafis of North America. So we've seen these kind of statements before when they only represented possibly a portion of people from Ahl Sunnah, meaning a portion of the Salafis, or they may have been Hizbis themselves claiming to be Salafis. So those are all kind of other controversies which we don't want to get off topic with regards to our discussion. So we have to keep those concepts in mind, because I hear from Salafis often, from du'at, people who give khutub, and lectures and so forth, who are, some of them are personalities, and in private discussions, I hear them say almost the same thing. And I usually try to correct them and say, whoa, wait a minute. Why are you giving so-and-so or those group of brothers, why are you giving them that badge yourself? You're saying, the Salafis have, and almost as if you're tired of being Salafi yourself. But no, I never surrender that. Never, never. Because when I think of the Salafis, I think of my many mashayikh and students of knowledge that I know in Yemen. And I think of kathir, jiddan min mashayikh also in Saudi. And I think of many brothers that I know who are Salafi in Saudi and in Seattle, Washington, and in Bellevue, Washington, or in Ogden, Utah, or wherever, or in Hagerton, Baltimore, or wherever, or in Philadelphia. So there isn't any particular leaders or particular individuals who are representative in their opinions, in their voices, in what they talk about for the Salafis. Even we don't say that for our ulama. We don't restrict Salafiyah to what Imam Fawzan says. That's not we can't restrict it there. Imam Fawzan is an imam of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. He's a Salafi imam in ilm, and a sheikh, in his knowledge and his wisdom and his vigilance and hirs in propagating Islam wa Tawheed wa Sunnah. But even with that, we don't say every single fatwa, every single kalima that utters out of his mouth is Salafiyah and is representative of Salafiyah. So I wanted to just correct that we have to be cautious about giving too much to certain labels and so forth. The third point is that there are books, especially in the Arabic language I can speak of, and of our scholars and students of knowledge and research and books refuting that which is known by the religion by necessity, the deceptions of the Jews and Christians and dealing with Zionism. And admittedly, there may not be a whole lot of work in those regards, in that you find mostly Ahl Islam, some of them may be covering that aspect more than others. But the point is, in relation to this, is also that you'll find, yes, Ahl Sunnah refuting one another or refuting Ahl Bid'ah. And this happens. This does happen. But every time there's a refutation doesn't necessitate that the person is an innovator, or that even the people refuting are declaring that the person's an innovator. That's one thing. And secondly, there are those people who have extremism in that, and they do it with injustice. Thirdly, there's another group of people who refute, and they do it justly, as we see from many of our ulama and students of knowledge as well, from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And the fourth point with regards to that is that those things we see from history in Islam, that yes, you'll find books refuting the other religious traditions, but again, because it's it's clear, it doesn't take, the excessive highlighting, but rather the more we practice the principles of the deen, it becomes apparent. If you practice al-wala wal-bara, if you practice tawheed with sincerity, with ikhlas, if you practice hadith Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, for example, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, "Man tashabba biqawmin fahuwa minhum," whoever resembles a people is from them. If you practice that hadith and understand the meaning and its import, as well as other ahadith, that's a minhaj in and of itself, which lets us know that's why Ahl Sunnah is on the correct path, is the only path, because the other paths, they lead you not only astray, but they lead you to emphasizing things. Okay, hey, let's just spend 60 lectures on Zionism. We know it's batil, we know it's evil and sinister, but we're giving you your salvation, which already makes that known. Doesn't matter if it's Zionism, doesn't matter if it's communism, doesn't matter if it's socialism, it's already dealt with. It's already, the more you practice your deen, you have the tools. The Prophet ﷺ didn't need to know every single type of evil that existed in his time. Instead, he gave you what you needed for salvation to protect you from every single evil in that time. Tawheed, Sunnah, practicing your deen, trying to get to paradise. So this is why you do find Salafi scholars especially emphasizing those concepts. They don't have to rush for every single new ideology and every new statement of a person and every political thing. This is not new. Actually, what's going on, the evil, the wickedness in Philistine, the only thing new is maybe the level of it that we've seen in contemporary times, the level of oppression, the level of slaughter, the level of, okay? But at the same time, the solutions have still been the same. The solutions is what Ahlus Sunnah is working on, and it works on constantly until they die. And that's why Imam Malik said, La yasla awwala hadhihi ummah, la yasla akhira hadhihi ummah, illa bima salaha awwalaha. That the latter generations of this ummah, and that's us now, and then after us, if there are others, they will be after us and looking back at this time and taking lessons from it. That the latter day people from this nation will not be rectified except for what rectified the first part of this ummah. So if we continue, so when you see the Salafi approach, the Salafi methodology, it's just a constant. This is one of the things I observed, especially after going to Yemen, and that helped to solidify foundations for me. It isn't that we have to run and jump. When you see a lot of the Hizbis and a lot of Ikhwanis, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned about political affairs. That's not what I'm saying. Nor am I saying we shouldn't know and deal with new ideologies. That's not what I'm saying either. But I'm saying when you see this continual approach, for example, there may be war, there may be bombing, there may be this and that and the other, but what do you see Ahl Sunnah, for example, in a place like Yemen, which is battered and destroyed and devastated? They're building, the Salafis are still teaching. They're on fire with durus and rectifying and building the hearts of the believers there and preparing them for the greater things, the greater duties. And it's a constant. It was happening in times of peace, and it was happening in times of war. It's happening in times of famine, and it was happening in times when there was some jobs and more opportunities. It's a continuum, because with that continuum is a powerful, powerful rectification and solution. So that is the approach of Ahl Sunnah. That's why we embrace it, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness for all of our shortcomings and the shortcomings of our brothers. And we ask that Allah forgives even our mashayikh for any shortcomings that they do, because no one is ma'soom, no one is perfect. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. And lastly, the manhaj is perfect.